Keep tapping like, y'all. We just getting started. When we get to 2K, I'll start bringing people up. Keep tapping like. If you believe that, you gotta tell me when. If you really believe that, you gotta tell me when. When did that start? No. Racism has already reached Gen Alpha. The generation younger than Gen X. We got children young as 3 years old working in mines. 4 years old working in mines. So I don't know if you see that as peaceful. I would think children working in mines is not peaceful. Can we at least say there's no justice there? Can we say it's unjust? If something is unjust, how can it be peaceful? No justice, no peace. If something is unjust, it can't be peaceful. And I'm sure this live is going to have a lot of people want to come up and, talk about how they brainwashed themselves into believing there's a peace. And I'm curious to see your responses. The question is also up to interpretation. So it's not like there's a solid answer. Question is also up to interpretation, but if you do come up here with a different interpretation than the one laid out, meant to drive this conversation, but have your own interpretation of the question, we're just going to ask you to define your define what you mean. Miss Lady LJ, peace, peace. We had 2K. Anybody want to come up? Feel free to request. Peace, Leisha. What up, sis? That's a weird comment, Percy. It's a weird comment. I don't know about that. I don't know why your mind goes there. Peace, Auntie Gemini. What's going on? So we talking about how this piece has never existed. If anybody feels like it does, please qualify that. Please tell me when there's been peace. Please tell me where there's been peace. I know for some of y'all, your proximity to white tea folks may blind you from what's going on in our community. You know what I'm saying? No one said they couldn't coexist, but we said, can they peacefully coexist? Don't forget the word peaceful. I know y'all. I know you. Some of y'all like to skip over that. You know what I'm saying? Like people who, they like to look over that. They don't. They see the word peace, and they just skip over that part of the question. You know what I'm saying? Peacefully by choice through Jesus. None of y'all are Christians. Don't play with me. Don't play in my face. None of y'all are Christians. Nobody in this live right now is a Christian. Y'all are attempting to be Christians. Y'all are not Christians. Y'all are an attempt at religion. None of y'all are Christians. Because if you Christian, that means you're telling me that your aim is to be like Christ. Someone that followed only God. And y'all see what's going around unchristlike in this world. That.
I know.
You're not run by the laws of God. Y'all are not run by the laws of God. Y'all don't follow the laws of God. You follow the laws of God until they meet or conflict with the laws of white supremacy. And then that's how we get y'all Christians. That's how we get y'all. Y'all will do what is best for people and best for, your sense of values, your, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. Y'all will follow all of that and be critical. Let's do this. But when it gets to a point where, I don't know, liberating people would conflict with Western imperialism, that's when y'all are no longer Christians. And a lot of y'all are comfortable with genocide. So let's keep it honest. Y'all not Christians. All right. Okra 77, give us your age, race, and pronoun.
47. And what else you need from me?
Your race and your pronouns.
He and him.
All right. Your
Yeah,
race.
I think the word peacefully, like I
Sir.
said, in
Your race.
Caucasian.
All right, talk to us.
I think the word peacefully can be replaced with the word respectfully. What do you think?
To be honest, I prefer peace.
Yeah, but I think respecting others' differences is the biggest thing. Is the first hurdle we got to face. Because I'm a teacher and I teach at a predominantly African American school, and I respect the differences between me and my students, and they respect my differences, and I don't have a problem with that at all. And I I don't have any conflict with them. I've been teaching for 24 years, and I'm more effective in that school setting than I am in a Caucasian setting.
Why do you think that is?
That's a great question. Me and my wife are both teachers, and we don't know why that is, but
I know why that is.
why is that?
because not listening to you, they've been taught has a consequence. We've learned this historically, and we know this to be true today. We see the police do it all the time. You as someone in authority over black children, even their parents have passed down the tradition of not disturbing the white man in charge. So you being in charge of those children, I'm sure they're on their best behavior.
No, it's totally opposite. My half the time my principal or assistant principal comes by, it's total chaos in my room. It's more of a where the children feel comfortable is what it is to ask questions and to express themselves. It's not one of those where the seats have got to be in a row and we can't cross the line. And
How do you know that?
excuse me.
How do you know it's because they feel comfortable?
How do I know it's because after they graduate, I've got tons of students and my wife both that say, thank you for listening, thank you for respecting us as a person rather than as a student, because I think as an educator we got to respect them as people first before we see them as a student.
Okay. I would say seeing black children as people is almost impossible for someone like yourself, but it's possible, I guess, for you to respect them, like you said.
So why do you think it's impossible for me to see them as people?
That would take a lot of work. Are you a racist?
Add negative, no sir.
Well, that's how I know you have a lot of work.
Do what now?
That's how I know you have a lot of work.
I got you. Well, I mean, I think that the biggest thing is the biggest thing as far as is coexisting peacefully is if both parties want peace. If one party doesn't want peace, then there's not going to be peace. I think both parties have to have the same expectation. Like if my expectation is different than your expectations, then it's not going to work out. Just like in a relationship with a man and a woman, if or whatever, if their expectations aren't the same, then it's not going to be successful.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yep. But the moderator had invited me up, so I just wanted just to chat for a minute. So,
All right.
yeah,
Well,
good deal.
coming up, you too.
Thank you.
All right. So, what did we learn? What did we learn? What did we learn? Young black boys learn quickly who is in charge. Someone said, not a damn thing. I know that's right. Young black boys learn quickly who's in charge. And they will do anything to ignore or gaslight about the power dynamic. They'll quickly do that about how white men have treated black children in the past to this day. Black women are in this audience, right? You sending your child to a school with a white man as a teacher, you telling them they better behave. Or maybe not you, but your parents would do that. I know my parents did. And that's something that's not understood by people that are not connected to our culture, of course. Gaslight came from, oh yeah, I do know that. It came from an old movie. Just peacefully coexist with your oppressors. What's the problem? Pretty much. Pretty much. Like whenever I have this topic up, that's pretty much how it goes. Um, I guess everybody must not watch horror movies the way I do, because like I never watch a horror movie and tell the person running to turn around and make peace with Jason or Freddy or you know turn around and be peaceful, guys. Why can't we all be friends? She unalived all the teens in the cabin. or he unalived all the teens in the cabin. We're not trying to be his friend. We just need to accept and make them comfortable. I don't know what that means. Make who comfortable? They sure do, Ramon.
Yo, I'm not gonna lie, you don't want me up here right now. I've been having a couple of tequila shots. I have tomorrow off. However, I don't think that it can peacefully coexist. I think that it's always going to be an issue. Uh, Everything you see me in the comments is completely satire. Complete satire.
Okay. That's how you feel. All right.
That's how I feel. That is how I feel.
Who brought him up here? I don't know. He said it was satire. He's down there joking. I don't know. Congrats on the day off. Huh? I don't know who brought him up. It was Alicia. I don't know who brought that man up here. Well, y'all, yeah. The picture behind me of Beyonce, let's not forget that she is celebrating Black culture. So that's our culture behind me. It's just I'm not a fan of the red, white, and blue. You know what I'm saying? But that flag was designed by a young Black girl. That flag was designed by a Black girl. An enslaved Black girl, but a Black girl. I know, yeah, I dislike the flag too. It's just it lacks humanity. It's just lines, and then just those three colors together. Just I'm over it. I you know I don't even like the Haitian red and blue flag. I like the red and black flag. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it does. It represents imprisonment. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't stand for anything. It stands for nationalism, fascism, and rebuilding Rome. We're revisiting Rome, y'all. We're having our second stab at Rome, pretty much. Um, which is interesting when you know the mafia's role in corrupting American government. Like the mafia was originally like Italian men that wanted to re like reawaken the ideals of ancient Rome, and like they styled their ranking system based off the Roman legion. It's kind of wild. Um, America has an obsession with Rome. You see it in the design of the White House. Um, you know, Rome is the cancer that has spread through the West. The difference between Eastern and Western culture is Western culture was crafted by evil ass Romans. That's all it is. That's the only difference. Like, evil Romans came to Europe and oppressed the hell out of everybody so much that it was like traumatizing to them. And then Rome fell apart. Like, Rome fell apart. It didn't like go away. It just fell apart. Like, as if America fell apart and like California became its own country, Texas became its own country, New York became its own country. Like, that's what happened. You know, Spain, all of these places in Europe, France, Germany, like Belgium, all these places were part of Rome and they fell apart. That's why all their languages are built similar, and they all have like a respect for Rome. They have a respect for their former oppressor. But anyway, hurt people, and it just weaponized what we now call the West. It made the West happen. Asia in the East, their trauma that created culture, you could trace back to like Genghis Khan and like conquerors there that did a lot of trauma. No, we was doing in Africa. Who knows what we was doing in Africa back then? It's about to happen again. I think the union is going to break up. I would not be surprised if that were to happen. I'd want to be in California when it happens. I don't want to be in Texas. I don't want to be in Florida. I definitely don't want to be in Florida when the kingdom crumbles. Hell no. Hell no. Florida is like, that's going to be ground zero for corruption. I couldn't do Florida, y'all. Rome is still around. Catholics, churches. Rome is still around. We're in Rome. If you're in the United States, you're in Rome. Like, it's the same thing. The Colosseum is the football stadium. Like everything else is the same. Like, they built the government the same way. Like, they just tweaked it a little bit. Yeah, Florida is a mess. Yeah, I can't do Florida. I'm staying out there. Umar is doing a protest in Florida. I'm like, bruh, you asking black folks to come to Florida? I think hopefully he's talking to the black people in Florida. Because somebody gonna get in trouble coming out there to go to an Umar protest. Rome is still around. I know that's a fact, man. The eagle, another thing that's Roman. In America, we have the bald eagle, but Rome just had an eagle. So did the Schmermans. You know what I'm saying? The Schmatzi Schmermans, the Schmerman people. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Mustache Man. Mustache Man had eagles too. Something about eagles, man. I was told once by a librarian that the reason white people like eagles is because eagles kind of cheat. Like, they're a predator, but they just swoop in, grab their prey, and keep it pushing. Like, they just swoop in and grab it before you have a chance to fight back, and it can fly. Like, so it's just gone. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he said that speaks to how white people will cheat and do anything by any means, and work against the rules everybody else is playing by, and just swoop in and steal something. But I'm not sure how true that is. It just kind of resonates. Yeah. But yeah, as far as culture peacefully coexisting, I'm gonna give y'all the answer. The answer is no. The answer is no, absolutely not. Not until there is justice, and there can't be justice as long as race as a system still exists. There will be no justice until this is gone. So, that being the case, it's not peace that we have, it's complacency. We've grown comfortable with our oppressor. That's not peace. That's not the same thing as peace. They definitely continue to disrespect us. That's facts. Exactly. Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. says, in the context of white supremacy, nothing the way it's supposed to. My bad, Timothy. Nothing operates the way it's supposed to for us. You know, we always have to try to find a way through some hurdles. You know, some extra thing happens to us, some security measures or something. You know, you go to the bank to get a loan. Nothing just happens the way is supposed to happen because of the context that we're in an unjust society. So it's all about cognitive dissonance, and y'all willing to understand that. Because I know it's comfortable, you know, people get comfortable. We just used to surviving. Peace, Timothy. Were you going to say something?
Click the mute button because sometimes as soon as you join a panel, there's like staticky noise in the background. I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying.
Oh, okay, you good. Yeah, so comes to the culture peacefully coexisting, it got to be at the point where we talk about black and white and people are like, what do you mean? You playing checkers? You playing chess? You know, black, white? What do you mean? What do you mean? What is a race? I don't know what race is. Like when they literally not they know what it is and they want to pretend it don't exist. I mean, like they literally have no memory of what it is. Then people that we would call white and people we would call black could peacefully coexist. However, right now, the toothpaste is out of the tube, and we need to get the hell away from people that are dangerous to our community as fast as possible, or as much as we can, at least mentally, even if it's not physical, at least mentally. Because some of y'all reject white supremacy, or you know what I'm saying? Should we shoot for it or just give up thinking it will always be unobtainable? It will always be unattainable. It's always going to be unobtainable until it don't exist no more. And that might be another 400, 500 years from now. Let's be realistic. Let's be real. It could be another 4,000 years from now. Let's be realistic. It could be another 6,500 years from now. Let's be even more realistic. Let's be all the way realistic. The thing that we call race began to be weaponized 6,500 years ago in the kingdom of Kemet, in a place called Kemet, now called the Arab Republic of Egypt. Yeah, they put their name on it, which is funny when you think about it. The full name of Egypt today is called the Arab Republic of Egypt. And that's hilarious because Egypt was not its original name. But then not only did they take the Greek colonizer's name, they colonized the name and named it the Arab Republic of the colonized land of Kemet. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's double colonized. Like,
The funniest
like,
part is that modern Egyptians, they'll swear up and down that they're not Arab, yet yet they'll shout from the rooftops, "We're Egyptian." It's just like, hold on, time out. Um, None of what you just said is accurate. Because if we actually look back at the ancient history, we can see very clearly that the only reason why you exist in this space in the first place is because of multiple outside invasions, one of those invasions being the Arabs.
yeah.
But
I mean, yeah. So that's how they got there, you know. But that's something that's been weaponized for 6,500 years. So if it took us 6,500 years to eradicate it, then y'all gonna have a long time before you can wear box braids. So you may as well just sit back, relax. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a while before y'all get a greatest rapper or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a while. So in the meantime, I feel like Chicken Little. I'm just trying to tell everybody the sky is falling because we done convinced ourselves it's not. It's wild. And then it's funny. A lot of us are convinced because that's what cognitive dissonance is. Like we understand what it takes for our community to come together and all this other stuff. But then we just go back to our regular lives, after the live is over, go back to our regular lives. That's why we got to organize. Yeah. No, I'm telling you, I think, honestly, like, ideally, they could all just go back to Europe and just kind of, you know, just decline their numbers from there because they're already declining. I don't know if y'all know. Africa's birth rate's actually going up. I don't know if y'all know that, but Africa's birth rates are going up.
2100, it's expected. I think Statista.com came out with a population estimation report. By the year 2100, Europe is expected to decline by 140 million, meaning decline by 140 million people, whereas Africa is expected to increase by over 2 billion.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yep.
So that there's strength in numbers. They're declining because their society is like so repressed and inhumane that it makes it harder for people to have children. And a lot of them can't afford it. A lot of them abort it. Like a lot of them, like more than anyone else, they get rid of the child. And that's their thing. Like their society doesn't reward them for having children, because for thousands of years Europeans have despised their children. Like they despise the reason your mother, anyone black in here, the reason your mother spanked you as a child, if they did, is because of white people despising their own children. They that's part of their culture. They own their child. In our African tradition, a village raises a child. So it's not your child to own. You don't beat your child like property. Um, that was our tradition pre-colonization. We kind of kept that tradition, but after colonization, we start to see, people, grandma got or granddad's getting the belt. Like, we get, stuff like that. But yeah, that's part of their tradition. That's part of their Christian tradition too. They had the paddle boards and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody knows about that age-old verse, "The rod and reproof bringing forth wisdom." Yeah, that was a bold-faced lie.
Yeah, that's cap. There's no proof of corporal punishment existing on the African continent before colonization. And it's funny because if I tell an African that, they'll probably tell me I'm lying because their parents did it to them. But what they don't understand is that they wasn't always doing that. They wasn't always doing that. Yeah, Christianity taught pain is love, right? Because Jesus hurt for you, and Jesus did it because he loved you. So now I'm gonna make you hurt because you have to pay for your sins, and I'm doing this out of love. You know, that's Christianity's sadomasochism.
Yeah. As far as I know from ancient forms of discipline was just completely different. Like it wasn't like, and plus the thing is that ancient African society, because I saw one of the commenters mention or at least ask how did they discipline their kids. Um, Ancient African societies didn't have the same type of problems that we're experiencing today.
Right.
So yeah, so it's like the problems that we would see in our children today aren't really the same type of problems that we would see in the little ones back then. So the forms of discipline would be different, based off of the problems. But that in and of itself, from what I've seen, is that there's been more of a having a conversation and trying to kind of, understand where that child is coming from. But also, maybe there would be other forms of spiritual practices that they can engage in with that child to, bring certain awareness or certain, like, kind of like a self-awareness to that child. And yeah, it's a lot of it was very intentional, very spiritual, very in accordance with the culture, in accordance with what were the requirements of the community. And yeah, so it's just, but yeah, as far as we know, well, not as far as we know, we do know that corporal punishment originated with Europeans. That whole brutalizing of the children, yeah, no, because actually, ancient African societies actually saw children as the reincarnation of their ancestors in some cases.
Yeah.
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 So,
Or certain I want to say spiritual entities. There's not a word for it in English. But they would see the children as like wise spirits. So it's like a thing. I'm using spirits loosely because I think it's an idiom, right? That's what, idiosyncrasy. It doesn't exist in English, but yeah. But yeah, yeah, we had a much more communal approach to raising children. Your neighbors were your uncles. Um, everyone raised all the children. So there was nowhere you could go where there wasn't a parent. Like you didn't act up behind your parents' back because like, you know, anyone could be a parent. And we also were not in an environment where talking sideways to a police officer could end your son's life. Walking down the street with Arizona and Skittles wouldn't end your child's life back then. So parenting today is much more complicated. And there's still ways around corporal punishment because corporal punishment doesn't solve anything. It doesn't do anything but give the child adult anxiety by the time they're grown. They're just going to have adult anxiety because they're going to think every time they make a mistake, there's going to be a physical punishment. And so they begin to have stress. They start having like stress when they're older. Um, I saw it with me and my wife one time. We were late paying our rent, and it was like the world was going to end, and we're just late paying our rent like 2 days, and if like like anxiety in your stomach like butterflies, you know what I'm saying? Like you ruining your life, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hold on, why am I freaking out so bad? Because I'm a black man, and I know my roof over my head is not promised to me, and I've been brought up learning that every time I make a mistake, there's going to be a physical consequence. And even though I know there's not going to be one about my rent, my body is reacting to that trauma. It's because your brain doesn't know the difference between like reality and thoughts. So if you have memories, your muscles can remember, and your body remembers trauma, and you feel like, yeah, like there's going to be some sort of consequence based off that, and it's something that you can learn to control later on. A lot of us do, but a lot of us don't. And when they make a mistake, they take it out on themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially you don't learn self-love. Like, and then it's also easy to make a mistake as a black man in this world, as a black woman in this world. It's easy to make a small mistake and you feel all the consequences. So part of the mental health of black people, that's just what I've read. Like, our mental health, like it's only 32 people in here, so I'm assuming it's mostly us. But that's really important. But notice I said mental health and not therapy. Mental health, absolutely. Therapy, I can't. It's up to your discretion, brother, sister. You know, I'm brothers too, because brothers don't go to the therapist much. But um, the therapist is up to your discretion, y'all, because some of these therapists be just as brainwashed. You know what I'm saying? And any form of mental health therapy for Black people should also teach them how to reconnect with their African roots, and identify themselves as African. Um, that's there's been studies done by Rita Walker. Timothy says it often. That say, well, she wrote a book about it, but basically, um, Black people that have a positive association with their African identity, have a better mental health. Like, so, you know, yeah, join, Pearl, beautiful Pearl. But yeah, so associating yourself back, like retraining yourself back to your original identity, and what they call decolonizing your mind should be part of any mental health therapy that a Black person gets. But we know you're not going to get that, right? No, you're not going to get that. So they're going to teach us instead how to think like Freud and a bunch of white men, because they decided that they know what a perfect brain looks like based off European white men. And that's another thing about medicine. Even with medicine, this is problematic. We're taking pills that they designed for white people. Like, we're taking pills that they designed based on what white people think health looks like. I mean, yes, there's science behind it, you know what I'm saying? So that's great. But there's been science behind a lot of things Europeans have done, and it didn't turn out so right. Here's the book by Rita Walker, The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. But yeah, Dr. Amos Wilson also talks on how if we're going to talk about mental health in the Black community, we need to also teach people to have a positive association with their Africanness, because that's the great harm that was done to our people. As we've been told, I'm American. I'm not like the rest of you, booty scratchers. Like, in the whole diaspora wars that you see is last place anxiety, because they have a negative association with an African identity, so they try to distance themselves from it. So you would say that's a person in psychosis. If I was an Asian man with great Chinese grandparents, and you looked at me and you saw I looked just like Jackie Chan, and then you looked at me and asked me what I was, and I said I was, I don't know, African, you'd be like, wait, hold on, what? You everything about you and your grandparents is from the continent of Asia. Yeah, but I live in Africa. It's like, what? Like, nah, that's not how that works. Just because we live in the United States don't mean we're not Africans. Um, Beautiful Pearl, go ahead, talk to us. Give us your age, race, and pronouns. I don't know if you can unmute. You're muted. Beautiful Pearl, you here? Oh, she dropped. She unmuted, then she dropped. I think it's a woman. Come back up. What y'all think gonna happen to Diddy? What y'all think gonna happen to Diddy? I think the Bunny Brigade about to get him and drag him to hell. It's about to get nasty. The Bunny Brigade is on him now. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, the Clarens are coming in. You know what I'm saying? The Clarens. I'm telling you, he thought he was a white man. That's what Diddy messed up. He thought he was white. He thought he had white bank account money. He said all that black this, black love. I'm brother love. He thought he was white. No black man that even does the type of stuff that he's doing is going, except for unless you're NBA YoungBoy. But I'm pretty sure NBA YoungBoy don't know what day it is. I don't think he can even spell what day it is if he knew. But uh, not to say he's any different than Diddy, but Diddy, like, to do that in front of some cameras and then think you're gonna pay somebody off and then come out and act like you didn't do nothing. Like, this man thought he was white. It's the only explanation. Only explanation. It's the only explanation I see. He thought he could get away with anything. He thought he
Yeah,
had privilege. Yeah, let's try again, beautiful Pearl. Just request.
yeah, they're definitely gonna make an example out of him.
Oh
Anytime.
yeah.
Yeah, well, just like the sister said in the comments, the sister thankful. Um, well, yeah, yeah, it's well, actually, hold up, this is definitely making sense. Oh, that Black Swan, my bad. Yeah, yeah, they're going to, because I mean, they never do that. They never make the full example out of their own, like Jeffrey Epps, you know,
Yeah, yeah. And Harvey
like that whole
Weinstein.
situation. Yeah, yeah, or Harvey. Yeah, my bad, Harvey. But
I mean,
yeah,
but see, that's the thing is, you're right. They are going to make an example out of him because they made an example out of Bill Cosby. They're going to, but when they catch white T men like Bill Clinton, I think he won his next term. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, we look down on that. It's really bad what you did there. We're gonna scold you. You're gonna feel it, but you're still Harvey Weinstein. You know what I'm saying? We're still gonna play your
hmm
movies everywhere. Well, but at the same time, right? It even feels uncomfortable having this conversation at this point in time because he's so obviously did whatever they about to get him for. Even though we know the treatment is going to be uh, more harsh than it would be for a white T man, you get what you get, man. You shouldn't. That's like when a brother get caught with a bunny and get in trouble. Like, the community ain't gonna have your back on this one, but you know, we know what they're gonna do. Beautiful Pearl, what's going on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, give us your age, race, and pronouns.
Hi, I'm 62 years old, African American. And what was the third thing?
She, her, he, him, or they, them.
Oh, definitely a she.
All right, talk to us, Queen.
Well, I'm so glad that I caught your live. I listen to your videos all the time, and you're very very wise. I don't know how old you are, but you're very wise. Now, and just from the little bit I've heard so far, you're spot on. I mean, I've been here on this earth 62 years and lived in this country for 62 years, but now I have visited Africa before as well.
Wow.
But I will tell you that I will say this, and it may be off topic a little bit. I was raised in a segregated world. When the desegregation came about, I think that was the worst mistake ever for us as African Americans in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It was the worst. I was my entire world was black until I was about 11 or 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a sense of peace. I can still remember. It was a sense of peace and no fear that I still remember to this day at the age of 62.
Wow.
And I've been around long enough to remember the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. I remember the assassination of Malcolm X,
Mm-hmm.
um, Robert Kennedy. It was just it was just a different time back then. You could in our little cocoon or our little neighborhood, I mean, we didn't even have to sleep with the doors or windows locked.
Hmm.
There was really no fear.
Yeah.
So it's and I've just seen a lot, and it's some things have changed. Technology has changed a lot, but then fundamentally, we are still we're still the same. And in some sense, today we're worse off than we were back then because you know it, I'm fearful just to go out by myself because I don't know when I'm going to be targeted. It's a scary time that we're living in right now.
Hmm. I heard that. I know that's right. I I mean, you know, integration never happened. I'm glad you worded it the way you did. We always had desegregation, but we didn't have integration, and they kind of sold desegregation to us as integration.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are now,
Mm-hmm.
just in proximity of them, but in proximity to danger because
Mm-hmm.
you know. And Dr. Francis Cress Wilson is this clinical psychologist from. She did a lot of interviews in the '70s. Do you know that name, Dr. Francis?
Say the name again.
Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay, but yeah, she talks about race and how it operates, and as far as what we were able to accomplish on our own, like that was a better time for us. Martin Luther King tried to desegregate so much because, according to her, he didn't understand like racism, white supremacy, how it operates. Like when people say systemic racism,
Yes,
they didn't have that deep of an understanding of it at that time, and like where
absolutely.
it came from. Yeah, so
Absolutely.
even Stokely Carmichael, someone that marched with Martin Luther King, said that we needed King as a failed experiment. So now we know. Like
Exactly. And I
now,
will
there's
tell
something
you
wrong with
this.
us if we go and try to kumbaya again.
Oh
But
no.
you know,
Mm-mm.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
but we know now.
And I will tell you this. Back in the day, people, Malcolm X is now a he's an icon. But
Yeah.
I will tell you, growing up as a child, black folks didn't like Malcolm X.
Right.
They
Yeah.
didn't like him. They just we were led to believe that white is right and that we just still had that slave master mentality and oh, if they do something, turn the other cheek, all that kind of stuff, all that nonsense that I think is nonsense today. But people back then, they didn't like Malcolm because they said, oh, um he was too radical, he was a danger. I mean, a lot of black people didn't like him, and they
Yeah.
just did, but they didn't understand back then. As a collectively as a group, we didn't understand white supremacy. We didn't know how deep their
Yeah.
their hatred. Although we had, people were lynched, people were burned out
Right.
of their homes, we still didn't get it, and
Mhm.
it just still baffles me to this day that some people still don't get it. They
Yeah.
don't like us.
Yeah. Well, uh, if you want to check it out. It's hard to talk about her on here, but Dr. Frances Cress Welsing wrote a book called The ISIS Papers, and it outlines psychologically why that is.
Mm-hmm.
And once you understand, basically, to put it nicely, because we're on TikTok, it's a it's their fear, not our fear. It's
Correct.
their fear of a
Mm-hmm.
world that won't look like them someday, because
Mm-hmm.
they have the most easily erasable phenotype. Not
Mm-hmm.
saying that we care about as black people, you know, like, if my child has a pointy nose or not, I'm looking at that as a black child because he's gonna be coming from me and my black woman. So you know what I'm saying? They, however, fell in love with their phenotype and created a whole identity and social class system,
Mm-hmm.
and used it as a justification for slavery and all this other stuff. So at this point, they love that phenotype so much that no matter what systems, no matter how much they let us vote, no matter what's going on, they were always going to find a way to make sure that their wildest nightmare does not come true, and that we all actually do integrate, and there's no more of them. They're gone.
Honey, I don't need a book to tell me that, honey. I have lived. I've
Hmm.
lived I've lived long enough to know exactly what you're saying. And I don't have to read a book for that. But now also in the same you know context, a black woman can make any kind of baby, any kind of
Right.
child.
Yeah.
And they know that too.
Hmm.
They
Yep.
know our power. They know, but see, and that's another thing that that comes to mind for me is when they brought us over here from Africa. Um, they didn't want us to read because they did not want us to be educated. They didn't want us to be knowledgeable, and they still don't.
Hmm.
And the literacy rate for
Yep.
young black men today is at a
Yeah.
level. I have males in my own family that I've seen struggle, and I've seen teachers not teach them.
Hmm. Have you heard of the Matthew effect?
I have, but I don't know enough about it.
Basically, it says that you can predict if someone will be incarcerated in their adult life by
Yes.
how well, like if they're reading before the age of 5, I think it is.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. I didn't know that that's what it was called, but yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, so if we're going to use that, you know, as a measuring stick, and then the new crime bill that Joe Biden is pushing for, it's almost like the '94 crime bill, like, is about to just get a lot worse because there's
Oh,
going to be all these black boys that can't read.
man, I tell you. Well, but it's always been that way. It's always been that way. And I mean, it has always been that way. I mean, as long as I went to public school, so I don't know how it could get any worse because it's always been that way. And I specifically remember what comes to mind right now. I have a cousin, and he's only about a month and 5 days older than me. And when we were in elementary school,
Hmm.
I know he had a learning disability, and he struggled. And when we were in our black neighborhood, he did fairly well. But um, when the desegregation came about, man, that's when he really fell apart.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, my grandfather was the same way. My grandfather despised MLK and kind of like shielded my mother from knowing what was going on. She was in Newark during the riots, uh, the Newark riots in New Jersey.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, my mom's about your age. Based off what you were saying, she's told me some stories too. I really wish every time I talk to someone from your generation, I really wish we could just get like everybody together to do interviews so that we
I
could
would
just
love
like
to. I just
you know
recently retired, and I'm actually thinking about starting a TikTok page, and I'm debating on whether or not I should, just talk about it
every day we
because
need your memoirs because
yeah,
like we're gonna be left behind here, and we don't want them telling y'all story. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
yeah,
we need to hear it from y'all
yeah.
because they gonna come with their story next. You know.
Yeah, yeah, and I will tell you, just the whole desegregation thing. I mean, they shipped us. I say shipped because
Hmm.
it was like being put on a ship. We would have to get up at the crack of dawn. Literally, it was still dark outside to be bussed across town to an affluent area, which affluency back then definitely meant what I'm trying to say. And when we
Hmm.
got there, oh my God, they treated us so bad. It was
Wow.
the worst traumatic feeling, and Worst traumatic thing that I've ever gone through in my life as a child.
My father was a few years older than you, and he told me about how he used to have to hide in the trunk of the car with the luggage. Like they would keep all the luggage in the trunk, and he would have to hide when he was a little boy because if they got pulled over, they didn't want the cop to know that or to think that they was moving into town when they was driving on the highway
Oh, listen,
going down
speaking,
south.
yeah, speaking of now, I will tell you that I am from Oklahoma. And when we would go from Oklahoma City to the rural part of Oklahoma where my grandmother's siblings lived in rural areas where there were still dirt roads and outhouses. When we went about it was about a 3 hour drive, 2.5 3 hour drive. We would have to get up at and be on the road at about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Make sure that we got through all of these little towns that we had to go through um,
Yeah.
between here and there, and make sure that the car was maintained, the maintenance on the
Hmm.
car was okay. We could not stop at all. We always took our own food. We only stopped for gas if we had to. And if we had to go to the restroom, we pulled off on a dirt road and we did our business outside. We did not go into a
Yep,
service
that's what he
station.
told me.
We did not. We could not because we may not make it out.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And that was just something that I mean, that's just the way we survived,
Except one day they're gonna say it never happened. That's why we need, you know what I'm
honey.
saying? Because
Honey,
that's what their pattern has been is
they lie.
right. Like it's never
Lie.
happened. Like they're gonna keep saying. So if we were to look 100 years from now, it could be, you know, black children have grown to be adults, and they like, oh no, it never happened. No, we didn't learn about this at all. What segregation, Jim Crow, you know?
Right, and I'll tell you something else that I lived through and witnessed the crumbling of the black family. Now, my mother, she was a teenage mom, and whenever the social worker would come by, they would literally walk through the house to see if there was a man in the house.
Wow, wow,
Yeah, and if there was something maybe different or new or there had been a change since the last visit, they want to know, well, where'd you get this? Or how'd you get that? You know what I mean? So, and they would come in and they would look to see if there were men's clothing in the house.
wow.
That's true. Factual.
So they were really making sure y'all wasn't together.
That's right. Absolutely.
That's wow.
Hello, guys.
Hey, peace, peace. Thank you for sharing that with us,
Oh, no,
beautiful
no
girl.
problem. Anytime.
Um,
Hello,
I
hello,
might
guys.
contact you for an interview. We're
Yeah,
putting
that'd
some,
be fine.
yeah, we're putting some stuff together. So I'll DM you.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Now I can provide you some information. I can go to your page and provide you some information to contact me. I would love to
Okay.
because, like I said, I'm recently retired and I really want to share my experiences because when we die, it's not gonna be, the history is gonna be skewed so badly.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
We're collecting data to put together a project, Sankofapedia, and part of it is having the oral tradition storytelling in Africa. They
Mm-hmm.
call them griots.
Right, Grios.
But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so we
Hmm.
want to kind of have American griots, like just to tell our story here too. You know.
And I want to leave you with one thing. Dr. Martin Luther King, he built a church in Atlanta, but before he did that, he was actually supposed to come to Oklahoma to set
Mm.
up his ministry, Oklahoma City. And my grandmother, she actually went to hear him speak when he came here. And I can't
Wow.
remember exactly why he did not end up here in Oklahoma City. He ended up in Georgia.
Mm.
But that's a little piece of history as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we need all that. You need to write stuff down too, so you don't forget that.
My head because it's like a movie rolling in
I'm
my head all
telling
the
you.
time.
Yeah, of course. Well, let me get to the next guest.
Okay.
Appreciate
All
you.
right. Thank you so much.
All right, peace. Um, a bong. What's going on? Give us your age, race, and pronouns.
Hello. Mm, My name is Colby. I'm 27 and I'm actually an African living in Oklahoma.
All right, talk to us, brother.
So the talking point is, can black and white culture peacefully coexist? So like I've been here for for almost a year now, right? So I'm African, like I was born and raised in Africa. But from what I see is like I think black people like you like because we're one people, right? Black African Americans, Africans, but one people. Right. So if you were to ask me, I would say black people can live together with white people, but it seems like the white people don't want to live peacefully with the black people. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it make perfect sense, brother.
Because for example, I play video games, right? There's this game that is about to be launched. It's called Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Mm.
Like the game was released and there was a character, Yusuke. He was a black guy. I mean, the backlash the game got from a black guy being included in a video game. I mean, it's for fun.
Mm. Yeah, you talking about the Sasuke video game, right? Oh, he muted himself. You muted yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So oh sorry. So it was like crazy. Like they were saying that Yasuke wasn't black. Like I mean, the racist comments from the post. I couldn't even believe that people like even that this stuff happens in the video game universe. I was very surprised. I couldn't believe it.
No, I'm not surprised, but it
Yeah,
is
brother.
ignorant. It don't make no sense, but it's typical. Go ahead, Timothy.
Mm. Oh no, yeah, I was just gonna say, brother, that yeah, it's no surprise. I mean, it's widely known throughout even Japanese history that Yasuke was a black man. Like they knew very clearly that this brother was enslaved to the Jesuits, and when he arrived in Japan, that's like among the very first time that the Japanese warlords like saw a heavily melanated man, and as I think he was like believed to be clocked at about like 6'1", and for them, they thought that that was a giant. Um, so they then proceeded to try to wash off his melanin because they believed that he was just covered in a bunch of black ink. And when they saw that it wasn't washing off, they then immediately associated him with being almost as if it was like a deity in a way. So the warlord made him a part of his main protection crew, and he even fought in like I think it was either one battle or more than one battle where he was widely recognized as like, okay, you don't play with him. Like he's not someone to be messed with. Um, yeah, like
I
that.
mean, I mean, like they released a video game for fun. Like you just have to play and just catch fun, and some people were even saying he's not a samurai. I mean, if you read the comments, like I went to Assassin's Creed official page across all social media platforms. I mean, the comments that were there, all of these faceless accounts. The thing is, these guys that say these things are always hiding behind faceless accounts, and you see them in the streets. Like you walk with them in the streets, and they smile at you, but when they get back home and they are on these faceless accounts, the things they say, it's like where they go to air the dirty laundry. I mean, I was like, wow, even with video game. So so like I wanted to say something
Mm.
concerning you guys are our brothers, right? Like us Africans, we sometimes we don't acknowledge the truth. through this.
Yeah.
Part of the
I'm
reason why,
sorry,
part of
family.
the reason why you guys are here.
You sound a little bit, Kobe. You sound a little bit far away from the mic. Can you come a little bit closer, family?
Can you get me right now?
Ah, perfect. There we go.
So I was going to say, like, us Africans, like, right, like us, the Africans that remain on the continent, we have to start taking our own responsibility of you guys' struggles, because you guys are here partly because of us, because we participated in what happened with you guys, because we saw you guys, Africans. No matter how we try to deny is the truth, we saw you guys and we owe you guys an apology.
Well, family, I wouldn't go so far as to say that y'all sold us. And okay, this is something that is, you know, you're unfortunately a lot of African Americans are taught here in the Americas that, you know, our ancient African ancestors sold us away and that they never wanted us, and they use that as an excuse to as like a yeah, as an excuse to basically promote self-hate into African Americans here. But for those who actually learn the history, for those who really pursue celebrating their Africanity, you can clearly see that it's way more complex than that. Like the people
Yeah.
groups that didn't participate in the slave trade were obliterated and then sold into slavery. So
So I did like a good bunch of advanced history. So some, okay, let's say some people sold like some tribes, because when the slave trade became very lucrative, some tribes conquered others and sold others. So you understand what I'm saying? But it's like we have not
Who
taken
made
no
it lucrative?
responsibility. So my point is,
Who made it lucrative? You hear me?
yeah, very lucrative. When the slave trade became very
No, no. Who
lucrative,
did it? Who made it
who
lucrative?
did it?
Yeah.
The Europeans who landed on African shores. They
All
made
right.
it
So why should
lucrative.
I be mad at you?
What I'm saying is, I'm just trying to acknowledge, like, some Africans should acknowledge the point that, like, despite them making it lucrative, we see how they hand in it. It's like it's not like we are totally off the hook. You understand what I'm saying?
In a
But
situation where people have to think of their survival, they think of those closest to them first. And of course, that's a natural situation. Like you can't judge someone for what they do for survival. Like at the same
yeah,
time, there were certain conditions that were created by outside forces. What were African tribes to do, quote unquote tribes or societies? What were they supposed to do like if they said no? Like, what do you think would happen if they said no? We're not going to sell to you. Like, like they would suffer the same fate, and they did eventually. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so, you know what I'm saying? Like
Cause
the first main point of concern that we should all be talking about is the people that sold slaves and got all the power too. Like reaped all the benefits from that. Like, you know, Africa's not leading the world's economy. If you're saying that they
even
were
though
if they were a willing participant, then they participated very poorly in that game. And that's not the case. That only happens when there's exploitation of labor. That only happens when there's exploitation. So
up to today,
America's
there's still exploitation, right? Like you see what's happening in Congo. Like Africa is being exploited. Like it is being
exactly
exploited up to today. It's up to today. Like
exactly.
so what I'm trying to say is, like, if anybody listening to this has the opportunity, like, to go back to see Africa, I think you guys should. You guys should go back and see it, because it's not that bad as it's painted out to be. The pictures that you see or the reviews you hear about Africa is being made as if Africa is like dead poor, which isn't true. They steal all the resources from Africa. They cause wars in Africa. They kill people in Africa just because, and they are developing, their nations are going. There was even I heard the news that France is planning to recolonize Africa because African nations are seceding from France. Like it's getting crazy because Africa is trying to wake up. So what I wanted to say is that we black people should stop fighting against each other. Like it is intentionally made for us to be at each other's throat. Because so there are some African Americans who say no, they are not Africans. That they were born and raised in Africa. They don't identify as Africans. I say good for you. Like I'm willing to join any movement, any cause that is fighting to develop Africa. Like remove all the puppet governments in Africa, so that every black person everywhere that feels alienated can go back to somewhere where they are welcome. But
Did you
if
see
I'm speaking,
Rudo?
pardon?
Did you see William Rudo with
No, I didn't.
the president of Kenya?
Yeah. He visited the United States. I
Yeah.
saw it on the news. And President Biden said he promised to visit Africa if he was re-elected.
Mm.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
So, so just okay, just imagine we had an African NFL, because you guys, like I love African Americans, because for me, you guys are the coolest people in the world. Your music, your culture, the basketball. Just imagine that you guys could we could like do our own African NBA, because black people have talent. We are the most talented race of people in this world. That's facts.
That is facts.
Soccer, everything. Just imagine that we could open our own leagues in Africa. Everything. They don't want us doing that. You see, African kids, even though the ones who play soccer, they travel across the continent to play in the big stadiums in Europe. Meanwhile, African soccer stadium, because that's the most popular sports in Africa, that are undeveloped. All of our
Yeah, that's
talent is.
hilarious, man. When you think about it, like
It
soccer
is.
teams from other countries are just uh, grabbing as many Africans as they can to be on
Yeah.
their team to
Look at the
play
French
against the same African countries.
Africans.
So
Look at
you
the
got to
French.
play against your own people.
Look at the French national team. Like even Italy, like every national team that are Africans playing there, like that, handpicking all of the best talent. That's why no African nation has won the World Cup yet.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of talent, but that's what I'm saying. Africans, black people being divided is profiting an agenda. Because
Yeah,
just imagine, that, like, for example, that Africa, that borders across all Africa. In Europe, there are no borders. You can travel from France to Belgium. You don't need a visa. But Africa, you need a visa to travel everywhere across Africa. So I saw in the
yeah.
news, African news were saying that they want a borderless Africa, and for me, that's the first step. That's the first step.
That's the first step. Yeah,
A
that's right.
borderless Africa. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
We hope to
So
see it, man.
I hope to be alive to see it too, to see
Yeah.
the
What do
change.
you think about Malema?
Yeah, Julius Malema of South Africa, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's their election is in a few days.
So I'm really hoping he wins. No, I'm really
Yeah.
hoping he wins, because like white people in South Africa, they occupy all of the land.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know they are even planning to segregate West? Is it West Cape Town to form their own country
Right. Yeah. Orania.
on African land? Like so.
You know, that's crazy, bro. That's like somebody moving into your house and saying
Yeah.
this part is my house now.
But yeah. I'm thinking of the good part, and I'll leave you savages to fight for the rest. I mean, it's crazy.
It's
So
wild.
all the one problem with Africa is there are a lot of puppet leaders, a lot of people who are serving agendas not of their people but of their masters.
Ali Bongo.
Yeah, like from where I'm from, President Paul Biya, I'm from Cameroon. That guy has been in power for over 35 years. That
Mm,
means since I was born, I'm 27 years old. I just turned 27 this month, and I've known just one president. You can imagine.
mm.
Yeah. So the wind of change is coming. Like I can feel it. And this time, because African youths, African Americans, they are seeing that we need to go back. Like we need to go back to the motherland. We need to take back our continent. Stop exploitation. We need to build a utopia for black people. I think that would be the best way for every black person in this world to be safe. In a land where nobody judges, because when I look at an African American, I mean, we are built the same. Genetically, we are the same. How can it be any difference? We are the same. We are just two different people. Even we may speak different, we may like have different ideas, but we are the same genetically. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is yeah. I saw a guy that looked like me. I was like, wow, me and this guy, me and this guy should do a DNA test.
Hmm.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep. Well, thanks for bringing that, bringing those gems, man. That's real. Check out uh my. There's a link in my bio. It's b1initiative.org. That's our nonprofit. We're a startup, like a technology startup nonprofit, where we're creating. Uh, basically, it's like Wikipedia, but it's going to tell Afrocentric history. We're going to translate it to all languages spoken on the continent, but that's going to take some time. But for
It
now,
is.
we're doing like we're just kind of like listing each ethnicity in Africa and like uh, kind of like making a diagram. It's like Wikipedia, but when you select, I don't know, Martin Luther King, like you'll be able to see like his family, and it shows like kind of like a web. Like it's like
Yeah,
there's points, and then there's a line where
like the
it'll
family
show
tree.
you everyone around them. You know.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna do like that and like have different articles from an Afrocentric perspective, though, not Eurocentric history, Afrocentric history. So yeah, we working on some stuff in there. Discord link is in my bio. But yeah, appreciate you, man. Let me go to the next
Thank
guest.
you.
Yes, sir. Cammy, give us your age, race, and pronouns.
I'm 18. I'm white. And my pronouns are she, her.
I don't know. That felt like a trap. I don't want to do that. That felt like a trap, bro.
Yeah, that didn't sound right either.
Nah, yeah, I'm not doing that. That felt like a trap. All right, we're not doing that because somebody will screen record something. You know what I'm saying? Something that might have been a setup. I'm not doing that. Anyway, appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming to the live. I'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget to check out b1initiative.org. And I'll see y'all in the meetings. B1 Initiative, we have meetings every Sunday at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. So we watch like lectures and talk about stuff. But yeah, see y'all then.